We want to head overseas now. Friends and family of fashion icon Giorgio Armani gathered for a private funeral on Monday. Armani, of course, died at the age of 91 last week. He built a global empire for over 5 decades. His tuxedos became a red carpet standard at Hollywood awards ceremonies, but women also loved his minimalist designs that defined luxury fashion. And correspondent Amy Kellogg is joining us now from Milan with more on this send off for Giorgio Armani. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning. An Italian actress actually said if there is a modern woman out there today, it's because Armani created her. So I thought that was a kind of a nice comment. Anyway, the final send off was yesterday, the funeral. And interestingly enough, Giorgio Armani chose not to be buried in the fashion capital of Milan, but in the province of Piacenza, where he grew up, just south of Milan. And it is known for these sort of gray landscapes which apparently inspired some of the gray he used in the neutral clothing, the sort of neutral palette that he was famous for. So now that he's been laid to rest, and that's next to his mother, father, and brother, talk is about the future and what will become of this brand, so beloved around the world, but particularly here in Milan. And we saw such an outpouring of grief, really, and sadness and gratitude over the weekend. People filed past his casket, which was in the Armani Theater right there. You're seeing it, which is where the fashion shows always took place. And there were fashionistas, there were VIPs, there were people who'd worked for him. There were even athletes because he sponsored a basketball team here in Milan. And so, yes, now we are looking forward. He definitely instilled a very serious work ethic in a lot of the people who worked with him, and that was interesting. There's a quote that's been circulating on a big poster around town from Armani, and it says, "The mark I wanted to leave was duty, responsibility, and respect to the person and their reality, and everything starts from there." So the fall fashion shows are just around the corner, and it's interesting that many of the big brands now are going to be revealing the first creations of their new creative directors, Bottega Veneta, Balenciaga, and some of the other very famous names. So Armani would have been, had he made it through September, he would have been one of the last originals of these big name brands. And I spoke to a fashion critic, an Italian fashion critic who knew Armani, and this is what he said about the passing of Giorgio Armani.
What's really interesting about this end of an era, he was particularly friends with Versace, with Gianni Versace, his brother Santo, and also with Mr. Valentino Garavani. And these pictures of, you see these designers like talking, in that very Italian way, like with hand gestures and everything. They were like really with a lot of passion. It's something that we lost completely. Now it's like designers are all operating in their own bubble, like their respective worlds don't touch each other. They knew they were business rivals, but also they knew that if someone buys something for you, maybe it won't buy that for me, but it's healthy that someone buys Italian, Now the thing is, I feel that now the whole fashion scene is a little bit more impersonal in a way. That at the time it was all very personal and very energetic.
And Valentino mentioned there said of his friend's passing that he never thought of him as a rival. He always thought of him as a friend, and he's mourning the passing of a true friend. Back to you guys.
It's so interesting, Amy. I mean, I'm glad that we got that perspective that now they feel more siloed, but back then it used to be more collaborative. I didn't know that. That does sound like a special time.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to imagine in the highly competitive world that is fashion that they were all really besties always. But you do get that sense from what Angelo Flacavento said, and when we heard from Valentino, those very moving words about having always considered him a friend. That it appears that it is in fact true, and Armani left a huge mark, not just in terms of wanting to make people look as beautiful as possible, but also he was the first to really turn fashion into a lifestyle with the makeup line, the sunglass lines, and with the hotels. And So he really created a whole world around his brand, and that could be helpful as to the company in the future as times change and people perhaps buy fewer items of clothing because they're trying to be sustainable. There will still be money to be made off of lipsticks and home decor.
Amy, I don't know about you, but I didn't have many, if any, Armani pieces because in our business of TV news, neutral is not the catchword. It's jewel tones. So in
You
our
have to
career,
pop.
yeah, you have to pop. So you have to wear jewel tones. So gray neutrals were not what the order of the day was for us, but I recognized that he had these classic staple pieces.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Fashion is cyclical. People, of course, dress down more now. There are fewer suits probably being worn. However, his clothing was very comfortable, and it wasn't constricting. And so, as the fashion cycles kind of uh, go forward and come around, that soft suit may be sort of the best segue from a sweatsuit that a lot of people seem to be embracing now. Anyway, fashion is cyclical. We'll see what happens. But there were some very chic people out at that Armani Theater this weekend. And yes, they were all and they were all in black.
Yeah, makes sense.
Marking a huge loss in the fashion world. All right, Amy Kellogg, thank you from Italy this morning.